What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and in today's video we want to talk about how Boise State are the underdogs and how they're going to shock the world against Penn State. Yes, we personally believe that Penn State is not going to just roll over Boise State like all these idiots on TV are saying that they will, but Jackson here is a diehard Boise State fan, and honestly, he knows all the ins and outs that you need to know about Boise State. So Jackson, tell us why we should not be worried about Boise State and why exactly this team is going to go out there and shock everybody this weekend.
I don't necessarily want to say that 100% Boise State's going to win. I just do want to call out the media, and even Vegas is 10.5-point odds. Penn State is a 10.5-point favorite. And that's just absolutely stupid. All right, I'm going to first off start by saying Penn State has one of the best front sevens in football. Their two running backs are absolutely amazing, and Tyler Warren is the best tight end in college. The guy from Bowling Green's pretty good, but I think Tyler Warren clears him. I'm not putting Penn State in the category of teams like Oregon, teams like Ohio State, teams like Georgia, even teams like Notre Dame. All right, and I'll tell you why. Who has Penn State beat this season, right? They've lost to Ohio State and Oregon. Those are the two losses, two of the best teams in football, right? Lost to Ohio State by 7, lost to Oregon by 8. All right, but let's talk about some of these games where Penn State struggled. Struggled in week 2 against Bowling Green, one of the worst teams in college football, won by 7. Struggled on the road against USC, so that's a tough environment. That's a tough travel. Do want to say that. Beat USC, who was a very mid team in overtime, and beat Minnesota, who was a 6-6 team, on the road by 1 point, 26-25. And with that being said, Boise State struggled in games too. It's college. It happens. You're going to struggle. When you're starting to put this Penn State team in the category of some of these top teams, I'm just not agreeing with, right? So let's talk about where Boise State has some issues. Abdul Carter. Abdul Carter is the best defensive player. He's a monster. You got to double team him, and you can't even run to his side. Right. But with that being said, I don't think anybody one-on-one is tackling Ashton Jeanty. Ashton Jeanty, 2,500 yards and 30 touchdowns, and was one of the best college running backs we have ever seen. I'd be as far to say he's the best we've seen besides Barry Sanders, because Barry Sanders, man, that guy was on a different level. Let's talk about some of these Boise State defensive players, because everyone says that Penn State's just going to dominate Boise State, and this Boise State defense isn't the best. Their strength is the offensive side of the ball, but let's give credit where credit's due. Boise State's defense struggled mightily the first half of the season, but they got much better, and they're getting a safety back that hasn't played since, I want to say, week 7 or 8. Alexander Tubner, probably their best safety. Senior, he's been a long-time player. He's coming back. This Boise State team is fully healthy. 26 days of rest. And I don't care if you're Bowling Green, Army, Navy, Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, Notre Dame, Georgia, Texas. I don't care who you are. You don't want to play Ashton Jeanty coming off 4 weeks of rest. No one in the nation wants that. And this Boise State team, Maddox Madsen is not a bad quarterback. Is he the flashy number guy that's going to go out there and throw for 500 yards and 4 touchdowns? Absolutely not. But Maddox Madsen is the perfect quarterback for this Boise State team. He has only been sacked 10 times this season. He has only thrown 3 interceptions. He is one of the best game managers in college football. He is the only quarterback in college this season that had over 20 touchdowns and less than 3 picks. Some of these Boise State, skill position guys, Cameron Camper, the Indiana transfer, 837 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's been banged up all season. He'll come into this game fully healthy. The All-Mountain West first-team tight end, Matt Lauder. I'm scared he's going to leave in the transfer portal, but we'll see. That's for after the playoffs. 43 catches, 523 yards, and 6 touchdowns. And then some of the guys to look out for in this Boise State defense. Ty Benefield is probably our best player, especially in the secondary. 53 tackles, 2 picks, and a forced fumble. And this Boise State D-line is good. A lot of people are not giving that credit. Boise State was second in the nation in sacks. Seo Oladipo, another safety for Boise State, about 50 tackles, but this guy had 6.5 sacks from the safety position, which I think is pretty damn impressive. When you get into these Boise State defensive ends, I think they might have the best defensive end pair in the playoffs. Ahmad Hassanin, 8.5 sacks, the senior, and then Jaden Virgin Morgan, the sophomore, with 10 sacks this season. A great dynamic duo for Boise State. And my biggest concern for Boise State is just the pure size disadvantage, right? So Penn State's D-line is bigger than Boise State's offensive line, and I'm sure Penn State's offensive line is also bigger than Boise State's defensive line. But that's the difference between some of these Power Five schools and the big conferences is, the offensive line and defensive line, sometimes there's going to be size discrepancy. Boise State proved in week 2 that they can compete with teams like this. They damn near beat Oregon. They should have had Oregon beat. Madsen went 18 for 41 in that game. If he plays any better, Boise State probably wins. Oregon has 2 special teams touchdowns in that game. If they only have one, Boise State probably wins. But this isn't a video of me telling you Boise State's 100% going to beat Penn State. This is a video of me telling you, if you're a betting man, absolutely hammer Boise State plus 10.5. And if you really want to get greedy, I would take the Boise State money line because I think Boise State has a really good chance in this game. I think they're being discredited. I think a lot of these media analysts want to see the Big Ten school win because it's good for college football. A small-time school like Boise State that isn't spending all the money in the transfer portal, that isn't getting all these recruits, it's not good for college football when they beat these blue bloods like Penn State. It's not. Penn State's going to bring in more money than Boise State is. That's just the obvious. I think this game will not only be very close, I think Boise State's going to win. I really do.
I agree. Can I ask you a quick question, though?
Go for it.
I just want to know one thing. Actually, 2 things. First off, who do you think wins the coaching matchup here? Because I know that you talk a lot about Spencer Danielson and how good you think he is. Do you think that he can go mind to mind with James Franklin and completely outcoach him?
Let me ask you this. Is James Franklin that great of a coach? He's beat Ohio State one time his whole career.
Yeah.
Has he ever beaten Michigan? I think maybe once or twice. Penn State has constantly lost the big games, and if anybody is going to sit there and tell me that SMU is on the same tier as Boise State, you're out of your mind.
Yeah,
you're out of your mind.
ACC's Indiana. That's what I've been saying all year. They were fraudulent.
And people that think Boise State's just going to roll over for this Penn State school, you're out of your mind. This Boise State school can compete with anybody. And like I said, I do not put Penn State in the tier with teams like Ohio State and Oregon. I don't think they're on that level. I don't think Drew Allar's on that level. I think Drew Allar's a solid quarterback, but I don't think he's anything special. Yeah. SMU's quarterback threw 3 picks in that game, 2 pick sixes. Boise State's quarterback has thrown 3 picks the whole season.
Yeah, Kevin Jennings was awful. Like, that was the only reason they won that game. Like, Kevin Jennings was so bad that he just dropped his stock in every way. Like, he was horrible.
And people talk about how dominant the Penn State front 7 is, which is very true. And Boise State hasn't played a front 7 that good. Oregon's close, but I wouldn't think they're not quite as good, and that was early in the season. But this Boise State offensive line is very good. We saw what this Boise State offensive line did in the beginning of the season. When this offensive line was fully healthy against Oregon, they ran for a damn near 300 yards as an offense. Do I think there's a very good possibility Boise State's able to control the game, control the clock on the ground against this Penn State team? I absolutely do. Because I don't think this Penn State team is as good as people are thinking. I think a lot of people are just looking at the 38-10 win last week against an overrated SMU school and just thinking Boise State has no chance. And I not only think Boise State has a chance, I think they beat Penn State. And
so you do think that Spencer Danielson is going to go out there and outcoach James Franklin, is what you're saying?
I'm not going to use the word outcoach, but I don't think James Franklin's a great coach. And I do think Spencer Danielson is a hell of a football coach. So one thing that I noticed from watching a lot of Penn State is sometimes they'll get the lead or sometimes they'll get in the games and they'll play very conservative. A game I want to mention is last year's game against Michigan. They had plenty of chances to win that game. Penn State threw screens all game and did weird stuff, and their offensive play calling is very fishy to me at times. And this Boise State secondary is a question mark, right? But they did play much better at the end of the season. And like I said, Alexander Tubner, one of their better secondary players, is making his return for this game. Boise State's fully healthy. And let me ask you a question, Logan.
All right, shoot.
Is Boise State getting these 4 weeks of rest, getting the bye, is that going to be helpful, or are they going to come out like we've seen a lot of NFL teams after getting a first-round bye? Are they going to come out a little flat? That's my question as well.
Yeah, there's definitely the possibility. The thing that makes me confident is the fact that Ashton Jeanty came out and said this is the best he's felt in forever, and that is Boise State. Like everybody else plays good football, don't get me wrong,
Hmm.
but Ashton Genty is Boise State. So if he's not feeling good, there's an issue there, you know?
Yeah,
But
speaking of Ashton Genty, I was getting to a quote that he said at his last media showing. Um, he said, "Last time I was feeling super fresh was in the season opener against Georgia Southern, and we saw what I did."
yeah,
Ashton
yeah.
Genty is a very confident kid for very good reasons. There is no reason he shouldn't be,
Mhm.
and I just Ashton Genty is the best player in college.
Yeah. Now here's what
Ashton
I'll
Genty
say,
is the
Jackson.
best player in college football, and I think Penn State struggles to stop him because I think any team in the nation besides maybe Georgia just doesn't have the tools to stop him.
Here's what I'll say, Jackson, by the way. The number one thing that I am worried about with your team in terms of coming out flat is Maddox Madsen. I do think
Hmm.
that it will affect him very poorly. And if this front seven can be the team that finally does a brick wall for Ashton Genty and you have to rely
Hmm.
on Maddox, that I think is going to be a problem, which could lean the game towards Penn State.
Oh,
And that might be why they're picking Penn State, is because of stuff like that. But I don't think Maddox Madsen's going to throw the game necessarily. But there is
hmm.
a chance that we could see that 18-41 come back if he's
But
flat and all.
is he going to do enough to win Boise State the game? Because let's be
I
honest
don't
here,
know.
Penn State is probably the best defense Boise State has played. I would be pretty confident saying they definitely are. So if Penn State gets a lead early in this game, I do worry a lot because I do think Maddox Madsen would maybe struggle if there is no run game. But I also want to mention this. Boise State, I feel like against some of these worst opponents and teams that they just kind of dominated, I kind of feel like they saved their playbook a little bit. I mean, from watching every snap this season, it kind of seemed that 60% of the plays were just Ashton Genty up the middle, halfback dive to Ashton Genty. So I wonder if Boise State, Dirk Cutter is a fantastic offense coordinator. He is a former offense coordinator for the Falcons. He is a former offense coordinator of the Buccaneers and also head coach. He is a fantastic coach, right? So I think Dirk Cutter, with his experience, he knows that Penn State and their front seven are going to be elite. And I think he knows that he's going to have to get Ashton Genty the ball in space. What I do worry about is I don't necessarily think Boise State's game plan for most of the season, which has just been run Ashton Genty up the middle, I don't think that necessarily works against Penn State. So I do want to see Dirk Cutter get very creative. Maybe mix in some screens to Genty. Maybe get him in the slot. Get him the ball on the outside. Pitch him the ball away from Abdul Carter. Double team Abdul Carter. I want to see some creative stuff. And I think there's a lot that Dirk Cutter hasn't shown this season. So I'm excited. I'm very excited for this game. This is the biggest game in Boise State history. This has been a game that, as a fan of this team since I was a little kid, I've been waiting for this game for 15 years. There hasn't been much excitement in Boise State since they won the Fiesta Bowl in 2014 against Arizona.
A giant bust loose, and he's going to take it to the house on his first touch of the game. Touchdown, Boise.
It was 2014 or 2017. I honestly can't remember. I know that's bad. It was when they had Jay Ajayi, so whenever that was. I'm very excited, and I don't think this is just me being biased because I do want to mention I have a family member that's a big Penn State fan, so I've watched most of their games as well. I just haven't been impressed with Penn State. I'm not saying they're a bad football team. They're obviously not. They're a great football team. But to just come out here and say they're going to blow out Boise State or they're definitely going to win, or to even look at the result last week of that SMU game and weigh that into your decision to this game, I think that's absolutely crazy. And
Yeah. Now, Jackson,
even if Penn State wins, I don't think they cover that 10.5-point spread. I just think that is absolutely insane.
Now, Jackson, another thing that I'll lay out there too real quick is the fact that if it does become a passing game, I think Penn State will probably have a very good chance at least of getting the dub, just because Abdul Carter is going to unleash hell on Boise State if it comes down to a passing game. I'm not even saying it's necessarily going to be Maddox Madsen's fault, but I just think that your offensive line, you guys have never seen a threat at the level of Abdul Carter. Like,
Yeah.
sure,
Okay. Fair enough.
Uyagalele is good, but he is not Abdul Carter good. Like, Abdul Carter is insane.
Can I mention this?
Mhm.
If someone were to ask you, who do you think has more touchdowns between Maddox Madsen and Drew Aller, who would you think?
Honestly, I'd say it's a toss-up because I know their numbers, and I don't think Drew Aller's that good. Like, I'll straight up say
Okay.
I'm in the camp of I think Drew Aller's overrated as shit, personally. So,
Okay. And I'll say this, I think Drew Aller will be a better NFL quarterback than he is college. And that might be a crazy take, but I don't know. He clearly has an elite arm. He clearly is a very good passer of the football. But I don't know, man. I don't know if it's the play calling holding him back or what it is, but
I
Drew
think it's
Aller just
reading
has not hit
defenses. Personally, it's like I watch him play, and sometimes he just looks lost out there. Like he
and
has great talent, but he looks lost.
and just, getting back into this, I do want to say there's no doubt Penn State plays a much tougher competition than Boise State. I'm not disputing that. That is so obvious. But I just want to get back into who has Penn State beaten. Okay, so their wins are against West Virginia, Bowling Green, Kent State, Illinois, UCLA, Wisconsin, USC, Washington, Purdue, Minnesota, and Maryland, and obviously SMU. The best team out of that group by a large margin is SMU. I'm sorry, but that's just not impressing me.
They're sorry. I agree. I told you they were the Indiana of the ACC, where they haven't played anybody. They got a good record, and somehow they made the playoffs. Like, I don't think Indiana or SMU deserved to be in the playoffs over some of the teams that they kicked out. I'm just going to be real.
But we can question Boise State and their strength of schedule, but they had more top 25 wins than Penn State, albeit it was beating UNLV twice. But still, I'm just saying, I don't think there's as much discrepancy in the talent as people are making there out to be.
Yeah, and it's also a major thing, and why I asked you about Spencer Danielson. It's because I think Spencer Danielson is a significantly better coach than James Franklin. That's why I wanted for you to come out and kind of agree with me, because whenever it comes to that kind of stuff, I think he's going to coach circles around James. Now, will the talent of Penn State overcome that coaching? Probably. It's probably going to be a close game, like it was with Oregon. And we're going to have to see if you guys can pull it out. But I do think that that's going to make this game insanely close, because I think you guys have the better running back, obviously. You guys have a really good offensive line that can't neutralize Abdul Carter, because let's be real, nobody can. But you can go out there and give him a little bit of trouble at the start. And let's be real, if you guys can find a way to neutralize Abdul Carter and run the ball semi-effectively, you guys can chew that clock and do things that Dirk Cutter likes to do, like running the ball up the middle, running screens, stuff like that really help Ashton Jeanty get out into space, as you said earlier. And then Boise State can go out there and dominate this football game, basically, in terms of time of possession and things of that nature. And the game will be close, but we'll look at it and be like, holy crap, Boise State had the ball for like 10 years. That's why they won. So I think that is the way that Boise State's going to win. Like, if Abdul Carter pops off, it's over. You guys lost. I'm just going to be honest with you. If Abdul Carter pops off, Penn State's going to beat Boise State. I will say that. But if you guys could neutralize him, I got Boise State. I agree with you.
I do want to say Abdul Carter. I think he switches sides a little bit, but I mean, most dominant defensive ends do. But both of Boise State's tackles are pretty solid, especially their left tackle. He's a sophomore, but he's a future pick. He's a guy that a lot of SEC and Big Ten schools are going to be offering in the transfer portal. So I do want to mention Boise State does have a very, very good left tackle, and no, I do not expect them to completely neutralize Abdul Carter, because he is an amazing player.
It's impossible, yeah. And the thing too that I also want to bring up for Boise State, just real quick before we end the video, is Boise State also, in my opinion, they have an insanely good sack defense, just particularly sacks. In fact, I don't know if they still do, but I know at one point they led the nation in sacks because they were getting a crap ton. So
they are second in the nation behind Ole Miss by only one sack. So.
Yeah, I knew it was something like that. So that's why I'm saying, I already think Drew Aller's kind of pedestrian. He has really good talent, but he's not great, especially against, you guessed it, blitzing. So if you guys can do what you guys do quite a lot of, which is blitzing, getting after the quarterback quick, fast, in a way that they can't get away from you, then I think that you guys can actually give Penn State a lot of problems, because that is how the bigger schools beat Penn State, is they go after Drew Aller and they force him to make a play, and he just shrivels up and can't do it. So if you guys can force Drew Aller to do that, then you guys might actually dominate Penn State. This is one of the more interesting matchups, because it could go in so many different directions. You know what I mean?
I do want to mention something. You just mentioned Drew Aller struggles against blitzing. Boise State is one of the best blitzing teams in the nation, but I do want to say something as a critique to Boise State. A lot of the times, Boise State struggles to get to the quarterback with only 4. So
yeah.
I am scared about that because, when you're blitzing, obviously it's going to be a little bit more difficult to guard the tight end. And Penn State has the best tight end in the nation. Tyler Warren is an absolute monster. Tyler Warren is fantastic. I can't say enough good things about Tyler Warren. I mean, he is a fantastic football player, and anybody that's watched Penn State, I think you can see that he's usually the best player on the field when he's out there.
Honestly, dude, as I said before, this game can go in so many different directions, but enough of us rambling. I want to know what you guys think down below in the comments. Do you think we're crazy giving Boise State this chance? Do you think we're crazy for telling you to bet on Boise State with the point differential spread? Do you think that that's crazy? Let us know down below in the comments. Also, be sure to like the video, especially if you're a Boise State fan. Boise State fans, stand up, hit the like button. And also, if you want more amazing college football, NFL soon once the playoffs start over there, and NBA content soon to follow that, then be sure to hit that subscribe button because we will be posting weekly videos nonstop right here at JNL Sports, and you won't want to miss a single second of it. So from me and Jackson to all of you, please have a blessed week. Hope you had a Merry Christmas. Thank you guys for helping us get over 50 subs in less than 3 weeks. That still blows my mind that we were even able to do that. It means the world to us. We really, really appreciate the fact that you guys are loving the videos as much as we're loving making them.
Absolutely.
So yeah, be sure to hit the subscribe button, and me and Jackson will see y'all in the next one. Also, be sure to hit the subscribe button, and be sure to check out the video over here on the left. We'll have 2 end screens. One will be our most recent upload, and one will be the best for you that YouTube thinks. So go ahead and press that. And if you want to check out the whole channel, be sure to go over here into the bottom right corner and hit the circular icon of the JNL Sports, and it'll take you right to our channel, and you'll be able to see everything that we've done so far in these amazing 3 weeks that we've been on this channel. So yeah, guys, peace.
To move the chains. A last gasp for the Broncos.
Bransky's legs might be critical here to save time on throwing the ball.
Down the middle, James, the lateral to the corner of the end zone. Can you believe that? I've seen it all. Now